we're all the way over here today. Okay. Yeah. And hey, everybody, welcome to Fresh Black Coffee on a Saturday morning. I think it's Saturday. And we're glad to be back with you. A little bit of rain in the air today and on the ground in our cars. And I have a habit of doing this. I washed my car yesterday. And I get home and my wife said, "You do know it's going to rain tomorrow." I said, "Obviously not." But I'm just happy for all the agricultural community out there. You can thank me, because if I wash my car, it's going to rain. So if we ever have a drought, just call me, tell me to go get my car washed, and we will get you squared away.
That's the Black German equivalent of a rain dance.
That's good. Yeah, the equivalent of a rain dance. Dave, we have a guest again. We're joining us today. Why don't you introduce our guest for everyone?
Yes. I would say the most prominent, prestigious of conservative lobby interests in Oklahoma City.
I thought you were going to say about him personally.
Right. No, is Oklahoma Council of Public Affairs. Mm-hmm. And I would call him the grand poobah of lobbyists. I mean, you kind of head up the lobbying effort, right?
At OCPA?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is Dave Bond. And Dave comes from a history. I know you were involved in campaign efforts and then moved over to policy.
Yes, sir.
Before you came to OCPA, I think you and some of the more prominent campaign organizations, right? Campaign consulting firms.
Yes. For my first few years after college, I was fortunate to work in a lot of electoral campaigns in Oklahoma, mostly state legislative, some statewide, but mostly legislative.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think mentored by probably the granddad. Well, Tom Cole's good. I met Tom.
He's had some success.
Tom, he was with probably the most prominent conservative when there was no other, was that Cole Hardgrave. I forget the name of it.
Yes.
And then along comes Fount Holland.
Yeah.
And Fount worked, I think he told me his first campaign was Tom Coburn for Congress.
That was one of his earlier efforts.
When he was in Muskogee, and so was Tom.
Yep.
And so you get all that. Yes. There we go. Eddie's recording now.
Yeah. I wanted to get all of this out of the way. Dave likes to go on these meandering journeys through history. I think he wants to reach down and let everyone know how.
Right. So were we recording before just now?
No, that's our backup record.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's some of the Democrats fear Fount Holland.
I was tremendous. Growing up as an early professional, working with Fount and a bunch of other people.
Right. See, Eddie,
tremendous blessing.
Last cycle, Eddie ran for city council, and one of the mayor's candidates, Karen Keith, hired Fount Holland, and the Democrats would not give her. She's a Democrat, county commissioner.
I've heard that.
They would not give her any data from the Democrats because they're afraid she'd give it to Fount Holland. And they said he is responsible for the Republican supermajority in the legislature.
That's extremely involved.
Yeah. Now, from time to time, those of us on the right have had a little bit of problem with Fount and some of his decisions, but ultimately, Fount deserves a lot of credit.
Oh, yeah. Tremendous success, tremendous at what he does, and has been for decades, and has a reputation nationally among professionals as being a truly incredible track record of success.
Hey, let me just jump in here. So, Dave, actually what we brought you here for today is just to discuss the situation. You're with OCPA.
Yes, sir.
Dave introduced you as a lobbyist, which
that's okay.
Tends to be, you know where I'm headed, right? It tends to not be the most flattering of terms among conservatives in particular. So why don't you, first of all, give us just a real brief synopsis of what you did as far as lobbying, and then we want to get on to current OCPA policy issues that you guys are dealing with.
Okay, so yes, at the Oklahoma Council of Public Affairs, OCPA. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, been around since 1993, founded by Dr. David Brown, who was a longtime orthopedic surgeon in Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. And a lot of other people around the state have been involved with OCPA. But we do a lot at the state capitol and elsewhere related to free markets, limited government, individual initiative, and personal responsibility. And that couldn't cover a whole host of issues. We like low taxes. We particularly like headed towards eventual zero income tax as far as making our state a truly economically competitive powerhouse. We're going to have to get there at some point to zero on income tax. We're really big on school choice. We're really big on, if it's not working for a child or a family in public schools, what kind of life rafts are available for them to explore outside the public school system. That's what school choice, I think, is, and making those life rafts available and accessible to those families wherever in the state they might be. We do a lot of other stuff too. We were very involved in educating Oklahomans a couple of years ago on their state Supreme Court. It's not something that folks had been really giving enough attention to. Most times, the two branches of government that, whether you're talking about a state or at the federal level, that people pay the most attention to are the executive, the governor, or the legislative branch. And the Supreme Court does not get enough love and attention. And so we put together one of the first state Supreme Court scorecards of its kind that we're aware of in the country. And 2 Novembers ago, a majority of Oklahoma voters did something they had never done before, which was a vote not to retain a justice on the Oklahoma Supreme Court. So that was an incredible experience to be a part of.
How old had that justice served?
Justice Cogger had served for 40 years.
40 years, and well into her 80s. It's time to retire.
Well, she had also developed a really strong track record of making rulings that were just really not in sync with where
it's what she wanted.
Were.
Regardless of what the Constitution says, it's the outcome she wanted.
Well, and our state Supreme Court had kind of operated that way for a long, long time.
Yeah, she's not the only one.
Yeah, that's kind of part of why we wanted to make sure Oklahomans had that information, and then they could decide accordingly what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so we also do some things related to state questions sometimes. And so that's outside the Capitol typically. But this year we've got a couple state questions that we're educating Oklahomans about all over the state, and we can talk more about those here in a few minutes if you want. To
avoid scandal here, you're 501c3, but you have a C4 political action partner, right?
Some of us are involved as well with a 501c4 called People for Opportunity, which does do ballot-related things. It did some stuff related to the judicial retention a couple of years ago. And those groups will do things related this year to State Question 836, which they've been gathering signatures for lately. That would bring California's election system to Oklahoma.
Yeah, jungle primary.
Jungle primary. Yeah. And the other one is State Question 832, which is on the ballot this coming June, and that would bring California's minimum wage structure to Oklahoma. So those two things are getting a lot of attention from us right now, and that's taking up a lot of our time and energy. And there's also stuff at the Capitol as well. As far as being a lobbyist, I'll tell you a story real fast. I promise. When I first started with the OCPA infrastructure 15 years ago, we went to see my wife Marcia's family in Arkansas for one of the holidays. And Marcia's grandmother, who is one of the sweetest people I've ever met, said, "Now, Dave, tell me about your new job." And I tried to say I'm a policy advocate and I do stuff at the Oklahoma Capitol, and it was not clicking. And finally, Marcia just wanted to cut to the chase and said, "Grandma, he's a lobbyist." "Oh, Dave. Oh, no. Oh, no." That was 15 years ago. When I see her, she asks, "How's your job going?" But she doesn't want any more details than that.
That's funny. That's funny.
But so many of us go to the Capitol, try to make an impact. That's just called advocacy. No.
Yes, I mean, I am a registered lobbyist, and that's totally fine.
And the majority of them are for corporate concerns, right?
A lot of them are. There's also a lot of state government agency liaisons who are there who function in similar ways, not identical, but are there to advocate for more taxpayer money. So that's a big category of folks who are at the Capitol every day too.
So you don't show up with like a suitcase or a satchel full of cash or anything like that.
That's generally
promises.
discouraged. Yeah, generally.
yeah, I can imagine. No, it's just the term lobbyist has become such a negative term. It's like earmarks.
It can be sometimes.
Right. Earmarks. I used to have this really negative opinion of earmarks when I hear the word, you say earmarks to a conservative Republican a lot of time, and then Jim Inhofe explained actually at one meeting here in town what earmarks actually are. And basically, he just made it really simple. He said, if we send $1 to Washington, we get our earmarks, make sure it gets back to us. And
that's the idea. Yeah.
We were at the time down at 63 cents, I think, per dollar. And he had gotten it up to 90 cents a dollar coming back to us. So that totally flipped my idea of what earmarks are. And I've forever, anytime I hear somebody start lambasting earmarks or whatever, it's the type of earmark, not the term earmark. And so lobbyists. It
depends on how it's used, yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And same as far as lobbyists, you have lobbyists that are shoveling money under the table or behind the closed doors. And then you have those that are just doing it because they honestly believe in it and doing it in the more fair and legitimate way. So I just want to be sure that people, when Dave calls you a lobbyist or says you're a lobbyist or whatever, that people
have called me plenty worse this week.
Yeah,
before I got
just so people get.
I don't consider it a bad word.
Oh no, you don't. I'm talking to the people watching, and that I do.
Well, they need to tune in more often, and get educated.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's what I'm doing. We're educating right now. So
we lobbied. Like last year, we spent most of our time lobbying for locking in a path to zero income tax in Oklahoma, and the legislature put that in place, and it's an incredible thing. It's got our state now on track to be the 10th state in America with no penalty on work. It's going to take a few years to get there. It's going to take some time, but it's locked in. As long as they don't change it, it is locked in to happen eventually.
Well, that brings something up because, this is something that Mike Macy basically started working on while he was there. And
he was a big advocate for no income tax.
Yeah, as a state senator.
Right. But what's happened, what people don't understand, I didn't understand. I'm trying to figure out because we're still paying grocery tax, but it goes to the cities now. So
some of it does. Yep.
Right. And so that the city's portion of it is still being taxed. The state portion they've cut out essentially. Yep. How do we change that? How do we get so for example, can the state legislature end all state income tax, or does that have to be a municipal decision?
Okay, so income tax in Oklahoma, income tax is only collected at the state level. There are some states where it's collected at a municipal or sometimes even county level, but in Oklahoma, it's strictly we pay federal income tax, but as far as income tax collected in Oklahoma for Oklahoma stuff, that is only done by state government.
Then how is there the carve out for the cities on the grocery? In other words, we're not.
That's not income tax. That's sales tax.
Right. That's what
he said. Income tax.
Oh, okay. I'm discussing the sales tax that we've gotten rid of, basically.
Okay. So the state or sales tax is up until a year or so ago was collected by 3 different entities: the state, cities, and in many cases counties as well.
Oh,
and so
Tulsa County being one.
Right. And so the state is no longer collecting income tax on
grocery
most grocery items, still on some, but not on most. And so that the state lawmakers were able to vote for that to go away, but the cities can still do what they were doing. The counties can still do what they were doing.
And that was part of negotiating to get it passed, because there are a lot of people says, hey, look, my town has a grocery store. And that pretty much runs the police department, is the sales tax from that grocery store.
That in many cases, yeah.
That was kind of their argument. And so a carve out was made, because it used to be, if the state charges sales tax, then the cities can.
Right.
In this case, they said, okay, we'll let the city still do it, but the state will not.
Right.
For that.
Yep.
But it got it passed.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
So in Florida, because there's no state, well, that's income tax again, isn't it? So I don't know how they run their sales tax in Florida or in Texas.
Couldn't say. Sorry.
Yeah, but you probably are still paying income tax, sales tax as you buy a hamburger.
And then the county is funded largely by property tax.
Right.
So property tax, sales tax, income tax.
So I guess what we should work on next is getting rid of the county tax, since they're collecting it through property taxes. And then after that, let the states
now Tulsa County has diversified. They still collect their property tax, which Oklahoma, Dave, help me out if I'm wrong, I think we're one of the lowest property taxes.
Depending on how you slice it, we're as low as third lowest in the country.
Pretty low. But Tulsa County, about 30 years ago, started a county sales tax. And I don't know. Now, one of your guys, he's your financial guy running the operations, good friend of mine, Rob Sellers. He had mentioned, and he had said that part of getting that sales tax down, at least the way he represents, I'm sorry, Rob, if I misrepresent you, but
hold him accountable, Rob.
What do you call it?
I said, hold him accountable, Rob.
Okay, there we go.
Will, don't worry.
Is to broaden sales tax to services. Now, as a contractor, I don't like that.
Some people have proposed that. It has certainly been proposed. Yes.
That's not the policy position of OCPA?
We've proposed things like that before. If that was necessary to get us on a path to zero income tax, then that conversation was worth having. But what they did last year, the legislature and Governor Stitt, did not include any of that stuff. It's just locked in on a path to zero income tax that will probably take 20 or so years. The way it's structured so that it can be slow and steady. Kind of a slow and steady wins the race. Well, let's not jump the gun on anything. The only thing we like to jump the gun really on in Oklahoma is whether or not a football coach should be fired. Everything else, we kind of like to take our time and make sure we think it through. And then the same is true with the income tax. And so it's a plan that makes sense for Oklahoma, and we're thrilled with the legislature and the governor for doing that. Yeah.
Now, I've known a lot of people that have done scorecards. My friend Steve Bias has got the Granddad Conservative Index. Al Gerhardt did the Rhino Index for a long time, and I've done the Freedom Index. You guys are unique. You do a scorecard, but not at the end of session based on how they voted. You basically say, you tell us in advance, here's what we're going to score.
Yes.
How's that worked out for you?
I think it's good. When we made the decision to start doing that about 5 or 6 years ago, a legislative scorecard every session for the Oklahoma legislature, so that Oklahomans could have a broader barometer of how they were voting on stuff. There were several good scorecards before that, but they didn't tend to look at very many bills. They didn't tend to include committee votes, which I personally think are a really big deal. They didn't include things like who's authoring the legislation, which I think says a lot about them and what their priorities are. And I think we call it extra credit. I think people should get extra credit for filing really good stuff.
Yes.
But we reached out to some of the people who were already doing scorecards to get advice from them. Yeah. And probably the best piece of advice we got was, if at all possible, tell the legislators in advance, at the very least, here are the bills you're considering putting on your scorecard.
I think that's brilliant.
So that they at least have a heads up that here's the stuff we're watching. So if you look at our website now, we have the watch list for the 2026 legislative session that was released and distributed to them, I think electronically, before session started. And that's something we really, really try to hold to. And, the legislative session is fluid, and we acknowledge that, but we give the best heads up that we can of here's the stuff that we're watching, good and bad, that we will be strongly considering for including. And we normally have about 100 bills by the end of session that are incorporated into the scorecard. I think we've averaged about 100 each year.
Yeah. The only thing, when I did the Freedom Index, it was, I would punish a committee chair for refusing to hear a bill that we feel is essential reform. Because right now, there is no way to hold him accountable. And you've run into that, haven't you? Where you got the votes on the floor, but the committee chair just won't, they're a dictator.
They certainly have discretion, and you have to figure out how to work through that. And I don't think we've included that as a factor before. We have certainly thought about it. and strongly considered it. I think maybe there were one or two cases in which we have, but we have tried as best we can to do. We do other things, like we weight different bills with different amounts of points, for instance.
Yep.
And also the authorship thing and the committee thing. I don't know of any scorecards that at the legislative level in the country that I have seen that include those types of things. Yeah. And I think it has given us the ability to paint a broader picture of, part of it is who is using their political capital to do good stuff. Because sometimes you get somebody in a leadership position who sometimes has to vote on some things that they, deep down probably rather not vote on, but then they use their political capital to do amazing things. One of my favorite examples of that is former Senator Kim David from Wagner County, who is now a corporation commissioner. Yeah. But when she was in the legislature, there was no one in the Capitol who did as much as she did to prevent the Obamacare Medicaid expansion from passing through the legislature to the governor's desk, which it never did. I mean, they had to squeak it through on a ballot measure to finally get it in 2020. But they had been trying for almost a decade prior to that to squeeze it through the legislature, like they had in most other parts of the country, the left. And she had used her capital as appropriations chair, as floor leader, to prevent that from happening. And we tried as best we can to do it in such a way that it factors in those kinds of dynamics.
Come on, you've got a microphone. You say the score doesn't tell the whole story. There's things they don't ever get credit for, but they deserve some credit.
We're trying to get as close to a full picture as we can. It is impossible to totally do it, but it evolves each year. We add new concepts each year to try to do that, because we do feel like Oklahomans need to have that. They need to have some kind of and there have been legislators on the left who have bragged about their extremely low scores on the OCPA scorecard during their reelection campaigns. So that's been fun too. And we could not disagree with their assessment of our scorecard. We thought it matched up with reality pretty well.
How about this ballot initiative? What are you guys doing about the new ballot initiative to go to nonpartisan statewide races?
Okay, so
how's that going?
State question 836. It is very important. So state question 836 would, if it were to pass, if it makes it to the ballot, it's not a done deal yet, but if it makes it to the ballot and passes, then it would rip out our way of doing elections now and replace it verbatim with how California does it. So it's not technically nonpartisan, but it is in a way, but it's not in a way. The candidates still have partisan labels. But how it would work is if you have an election for, let's say, governor, right, and all the candidates run. Right now, the Democrat Party puts forward their nominee, and all the Democrat voters around the state get the chance to participate in that. Same for the Republicans, same for the Libertarians as well, which is relatively new. It's been around a little while now, but relatively new. And then if you're an independent and you pay your filing fee, you're on the ballot in November in Oklahoma. And that's somewhat new as well. You used to have to get signatures a while ago. Now you just got to pay your filing fee. So it would do away with all that, and just everybody would run on the same primary ballot in the summertime. And the top, regardless of party, they're all on the same ballot. And so the top, and then the top two vote getters, regardless of party, move on to November. So it does. The experience in California and Washington, which are the only two states that still do this, Louisiana used to and has moved away from it because it's just too chaotic. But in California and Washington, the way it works is you have this extremely chaotic election system that's just a mess. A lot of people call it a jungle primary or sometimes a blanket primary. It is not an open primary. It's really important that people know that. It is not, okay, if you're an independent, you can go vote in the Democrat or Republican primary if you want to. It is not that at all. It is just an absolute jungle mess where everything smashes in there together. And so the result in California has been that the voter participation is going down.
Okay. I got to clarify something you said. Do independents, people register to vote as an independent, do they vote in this jungle primary?
Right. Everybody, all voters vote in the same primary.
So then candidates who file as an independent are also in that primary.
Yes.
Okay. So November, we've got the top two, unless somebody gets an outright majority.
No, it's top two, even if somebody gets 99%.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I thought you had to break 50. 50%.
Well, you do in November, but not in the, it's the top 2 vote getters, regardless of what their percentages are.
Yeah.
They move on to November.
Okay. Kind of similar in outcome to this, distinct but not much difference, is the ranked choice voting options that, say, Colorado, I think, has. Alaska's known for it.
Yes.
And you end up getting the most middle of the road person.
Sometimes it's that. I mean, the 2 biggest problems with it, in my opinion, are one, that it produces all sorts of bizarre outcomes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's the most middle of the road balancing act candidate that comes out in the end. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's much more extreme, one way or the other. And it can produce a lot of outcomes where you've got 2 candidates. The only choices that people have in November on a major race like governor or U.S. Senate are 2 candidates from the same party.
Yeah.
I don't think that's healthy either way, if it's 2 Democrats or 2 Republicans. I think our elections are supposed to present to voters a truly diverse menu of options. Yeah. And that is not what this does. And it does another thing too. It completely eliminates independent and third-party candidates from the general election ballot in competitive races.
Yeah.
Right now, when you go to vote for governor or Congress, you've got 3, 4, 5 options to choose from as a voter in November, when twice as many people vote, which, by the way, is still the case in California. Still twice as many people vote in California in November as opposed to the primary, even with this crazy system that supposedly is supposed to dramatically improve primary election turnout. Primary election turnout's going down in California since they adopted this 15 years ago. So in a multi-candidate, truly competitive race, an independent or libertarian is not going to make it to November.
Nope.
That's not, they don't in California either. There were 154 races on the November ballot in California in 2024. Only 3 of them, this is state and federal races, only 3 of them had a independent or third party candidate on that ballot in November. And it was those cases where nobody wanted to run against a strong incumbent. And so the independent just got on to November by default and got crushed by more than 70%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me just, on that same thought, how far along are they? Because you said it's not sure that we're going to have that on the ballot, but how? Because where I read it, it looked like they had the number of petitions. So are you talking about they're cleaning the petitions or checking them for their veracity? So
they had to get 173,000 valid signatures to qualify for the ballot. And valid signature means that when you sign your stuff on the line on the piece of paper, that what you're signing matches up with what it has for you in the state voter file. So they had to have 173,000 of those. They reported that they turned in somewhere in the neighborhood of 200,000. So the process now, the step is that the Secretary of State and his team are scrutinizing those signatures and the information on the lines to see, do 173,000 of those match up with the voter file? If they find that they do, then it will move on to the next step. And if they don't, then they won't qualify.
Okay, I see.
And we probably won't know that for a few more weeks.
Okay, but it's not going to be until October or so that we find out.
We should know if they got enough signatures, maybe before the end of February. If not, certainly sometime in March, we would know.
Okay.
And then there will be a challenge window in which people can bring challenges to the signatures. Like if they say they got enough signatures and somebody says, no, they didn't, they can file a legal challenge to hash that out. There are other things that can be challenged too in that 90-day window. And then if it still has survived through all that, then it pretty much is a done deal that it will be on the ballot.
Great. In addition to that, what other pressing issues that people should know about coming up?
Pardon me, just a second.
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, there's that June ballot initiative on minimum wage. We really should dig down on that too.
Thank you. Yes, pardon me. State question 832 is for sure going to be on the ballot in June. They got enough signatures for that. That's the one that would bring California's minimum wage structure to Oklahoma, pretty much verbatim for how California does, for how all 3 West Coast states, actually, Oregon and Washington, 2 hotbeds of conservatism as well, do the minimum wage. Great economic decisions that all 3 of those states have been making over the past quarter century or so. And one of those is the way they do minimum wage and the way State Question 832 would do minimum wage if it passes in June is, right now it's 7.25, the federal minimum wage.
Right.
Most of the states in the, I guess now we can just call it the SEC states do minimum wage this way. And a few, 22 states do the federal minimum wage now or something very close to it. But the other 28 do something like what California does in State Question 832. It would ratchet up the minimum wage to $15 an hour by the beginning of 2029. And then every year thereafter, it would continue going up based on one of the U.S. Department of Labor's cost of living indexes, the one for major American cities, because, they have several different CPIs at the Department of Labor.
Hold it. It's not the national cost of living. It's select cities.
It's their index for major U.S. cities, which include places like, New York City and Los Angeles and San Francisco and New Jersey, where you've got liberal politicians every day making decisions that ratchet up the cost of living in those places.
Wait a minute. We got to say this again. So Inola, Oklahoma, I just drove through there. It took me 3 minutes.
Yep.
Their minimum wage will be set by New York City?
Indirectly, yes, it will.
Wow.
Yeah, that is. It's just crazy.
Actually, directly. I say indirectly. I should have said directly. Yes.
Yeah, well, and see, I tried to talk about that when this minimum wage discussion back on the Pat Campbell show, we used to discuss this. Yep. And people, they don't realize that they just think, oh, these poor people are getting a raise to $15 an hour from some 50. But what about the people that were at 15? That means to retain them, you're going to have to go to 25.
Probably.
And above them, you've got to go up. And there's only a certain amount of money in a corporation.
Especially a small one.
Right, especially a small one. So you're going to have to, if you've got to pay this minimum, that means you got to let people go.
Or you cut their, the experience in the states that have been doing this longer, like California and Washington in particular, are really the places that have had it in place the most. And when I say have had it in place the most, I mean a minimum wage of $15 or more has an automatic escalator that it will go up every year without end, with no cap. There's no language in State Question 832 that says once the minimum wage hits $20 an hour, then it just stays there, or $25 an hour, or $30.
Is there a set percentage that goes up?
No.
Oh, no. They just decide that. So it's not, is it going up? It's how much it's going up. We're voting on each time.
Yes. One of the things that in children developing, learning a work ethic stuff, I look at the jobs I had as a kid: delivering newspapers, shoveling snow, raking leaves, mowing lawns, shining shoes, carrying out groceries.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
Well, yes, because I did a military base, and you're a military brat. And carrying out groceries and pumping gas.
Yeah.
What's so funny?
Nothing.
Okay.
He gets it. You apparently don't.
So I just named about 8 jobs that no longer exist due to minimum wage hikes. Okay. The things we use to teach kids how to work, our minimum wage is killed, and other policies. Now OSHA doesn't want kids pushing a gas-powered mower. You got to be 18 to do that. Yeah. So, but this is the problem we have is, we aren't thinking about kids. No. Because, you've been advocating, you hear, the folks up on the 5th floor, the Democrats say, you can't feed a family of 4 on that. Well, you know what? You shouldn't be trying, to carry out groceries when you're raising a family of 4. That job belongs to kids.
It's really interesting. The Democrat, I think the Senate Democrats in Oklahoma City did a press conference recently with their agenda for session. And they know, just like everybody else, not enough people know, but they know that State Question 832 is on the ballot in June. But yet they have their own minimum wage proposal that just takes it up to $15 and then stops. I think even they recognize that having that continual increase in the minimum wage year after year after year that's in State Question 832 is particularly problematic.
Well, yeah, because we're replacing our own state legislature, and where the buck should stop from making decisions like that, and replacing it with bureaucrats in New York City. Because, I've visited there. I know what it costs there, and it's largely due to liberal policies that increase the cost of living in New York City.
So it's interesting that when I think it's important that we talk about who is this supposed to be for?
Mhm.
Raising the minimum wage, because it's $7.25 an hour. Inflation has increased a lot since that
Right.
it was even raised to that.
Mhm.
So who are we doing it for?
Mhm.
Those people making minimum wage. There are about 17,000 people right now in Oklahoma making minimum wage.
Wow.
Mhm.
It's less than 1% of working people in the state. I mean,
That's an important factor.
it is. It's less than 2% of the people working on an hourly basis, and it's less than 1% of people just working at all.
Yeah.
When you look at the population of the state, it's a
Mhm.
rounding error.
Mhm.
So, 17,000 people. Over 7,000 of those are age 24 or under. So you're talking about a lot of students. That's a lot of entry-level people entering a life of work and productivity.
Mhm.
And so when you look at the states that have been doing this longer, this structure of doubling it and then raising it every year after that, which is what 832 does. The states that have had that the longest are those West Coast states, in particular California and Washington. Right. And sometimes at the city level, they jack it up even more.
Yes.
So in those states, what is happening is it's those people in those jobs that when you raise the cost of employing them, for better or worse, become, in the eyes of the business owner, big or small, more expendable.
Yeah.
Right.
And so those are the people in those places that are either losing their jobs, because there's nothing in State Question 832. A ballot question is not just the 200 words or less that you see on the ballot when you go to the polls.
Yeah, that's the summary.
It's the summary. And so there's 2 or 3 pages of detail that if you want to go online, you can look for. And I'm happy to send you guys the link if you want to put it on your website to go with this show. But when you look at that, there's nothing in there that says, okay, we're going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, then continue raising it after that. And everybody who's making less than that now will get to keep their job.
Right.
Or will get to keep working as many hours as they're currently working. Or and their hours won't be doubled, by the way, make up for the people who let go. There's none of that. There's none of that stuff in there. All it says is that if you still employ people by the hour, then by the beginning of 2029, you got to pay them at least $15 an hour. And then we're going to keep raising it after that. That's all it says. So the protections for those people, just like in California and Washington, are non-existent. And so those are the people who lose their jobs or get their hours slashed so that they're making more per hour, but their paycheck's actually smaller.
It's common sense. It's common sense. I mean, what people can't understand, there's only a set amount of money available.
Yeah.
And you can't just magically give the boss more money because, see,
AOC told me I could, but.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's the problem. Certain people that want to hear this just have this opinion that there's an endless pot of money.
Yeah.
I remember a video several years ago when Obama was giving out all of this money, free money, and so they call it Obama Cash. Now, you may have seen it there. The news person went out and asked it, "What do you have? We're here to pick up our Obama Cash."
Nice.
Well, where's this money? I don't know. Obama stash. He's got he has
That's
a
where the
stash.
Obama phones were.
Yeah, he has but it's because the people really don't want to know. They don't really care. The government's got this endless pit of money that they can draw from, and it's not going to affect us. The problem is, what's really going to be affected is the private jobs, the private employers, and all of that, and they don't have an endless pit of money.
Well, in the states that do this, it's those people making those lower wages who are supposedly passing this to help, who end up being the ones who suffer. The big corporations, they're already automating as much as they possibly can. They have to answer to shareholders, for better or worse. It just is the world we live in. I don't have to like it. They have to answer to shareholders. And so their shareholders want to maximize return on investment. So therefore, they're automating everything they possibly can. And in states that have a double minimum wage like this, and on the way to tripling it, like California, the experience of going to a McDonald's is a lot different than the experience going to a McDonald's in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, you could have a human being take your order. And there's all sorts of other human activity going on. At a McDonald's in California, the human activity is a lot less. And the automation is a lot more. And you can see bigger corporate, like if you go to Sam's, we're not fancy enough to have a Costco membership, but we have Sam's Club. And Marsha usually handles that, but every once in a while I get to go with her. And every time I go with her, the process is more automated than it was the time before.
How do we get this more than information? Just how do we get the whole concept and the realities of the situation? How do we get that into the hands and minds of the voter in Oklahoma?
I think first is making sure that folks are having a conversation about what it's going to be on the ballot and what it is. I think when you look at State Question 836, the other one we were talking about, we worked really hard leading up to and during the signature gathering window for that to educate Oklahoma voters. Hey, this is being considered. They're going to gather signatures for it. Here's what it is. Here's what it would really do. Here's where it really comes from. And, kind of like we did with the judicial stuff, now you've got the facts and make your own decision. And I think the first part is awareness that, hey, it's going to be on the ballot. Hey, it's coming to us directly from California. This is how California does minimum wage. This is how California does its economy. How's that going? Here's a big piece of how California does their economy, and people want to import it here to Oklahoma.
I want to reiterate something. You said that major cities' cost of living indexes will perpetually decide what our minimum wage annual adjustment is every year forever, right?
Yes.
And it'll be written in the Oklahoma Constitution.
So it is not constitutional.
Oh, it's statutory.
836 is constitutional, the California election system proposal. 832, California minimum wage, is statutory. So, however, when we say statutory, obviously we mean that the legislature theoretically could come in and adjust it later. But when it's something that's been passed on the ballot by a majority of Oklahoma voters, like with medical marijuana, for instance, even though it's a statutory change, lawmakers are understandably reluctant to go in and adjust that because, well, the voters passed it. And so, they have to vote on us too.
Well, that was probably even and I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but that was probably one of the most agreeable thing. The people who wrote it, Chip Paul from Maine, says, it's only half written. The legislature needs to come in and do their part.
Sure.
They were at least hospitable to the legislature. This is not, because in order to stop this, you need a majority of both committees, both chamber committees, to bring it to the floor. Both floors have to pass it, and the governor has to sign it in order for any of it to change.
Yep.
So the status quo remains until we get a majority of each step along the way. And there's at least 5 steps.
Yeah.
Right.
So just the vote is not going to determine it.
The vote will determine it, but because it's a statutory change, in theory, the legislature and governor could come back later and decide to adjust it.
Yeah, but any change later
will be locking in California's way of doing minimum wage.
Okay. Any later change requires 5 steps of passage: House committee, House floor, Senate committee, Senate floor, and governor. Oh, and the Supreme Court, because you never know what they're going to do to it.
Sure.
Those are log rolling or whatever. Okay, so we've got that. But again, the thing is, you're going to have San Francisco, LA, Seattle, Chicago, Philly, New York City, Portland, Boston, and all those Bostons.
Portland.
In outrageous cost of living there. And they will decide what it costs to live in Inola, Oklahoma.
They will have a huge effect on it. Yeah, whatever's going on there and how much things are going up there is going to directly impact how much you have to pay minimum wage in Oklahoma for that.
Now, if it was the Oklahoma cost of living, that would make sense. Because that's the reality of Oklahoma.
It would be less unreasonable. I still think when you're talking about this, you're talking about a big, when you change the dynamics on what it costs to employ a human being, whether you're talking about a big business or a small business, then the people making the decisions in those places are going to have to factor that in. And that big business is then going to be, that big international corporation is going to be more inclined to accelerate its automation. Each day that goes by, they are capable, if they have the money to afford the technology, which the big ones do, to replace a human with a machine.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of the world we live in. When people are worried about AI, that's a lot of times the kind of stuff they're worried about, understandably so. For a small business, they often do not have the resources to have the kind of technology to automate all that stuff. So they have to make different types of decisions. Mm-hmm. They still have to they're more likely to have to keep human beings on board. But let's say how it works in California a lot of times. One of the big industries that people talk about for why this is so necessary is hospitality. And I'm talking about, housekeeping hospitality. That's the kind of hospitality I'm talking about. And, those folks, we have folks on our team from California whose families work in that industry. And here's how it worked in California for our family when they put this in. Let's say you got 3 people working in housekeeping. One of them loses their job. Mm-hmm. The other 2 get paid more per hour, but either they get their hours cut, or what happens a lot of times too is they have to then do the work of the one who had to be let go, not because they've done anything wrong, but just because they can only afford to keep 2 of them now.
Right.
And they have to do all that person's work too. So that means they see their family even less than they did before. And hopefully their paycheck is bigger than it was before, but that's not a guarantee either. So it just distorts all of these things, and nobody's really coming out better at the end of the day.
Sure.
Many times. There are some people who are going to make more money.
Yeah.
When this happens, just like it in California and Washington and Seattle. And there are some people who are going to lose their job, just like in California and Seattle.
I decry the loss of training opportunities for kids, first jobs.
Oh gosh.
That's more conducive to the realities of, hey, he's just a kid, and let's give him an opportunity to learn the work ethic, learn the value of bringing home, say, Mom, Dad, look, this is how much I earned.
So I have 2, as of a few months ago, we now have 2 teenage boys living in our house. Mm-hmm. And one of them will be 16 before summer starts, and he wants to work. Thank God. He wants to work.
Yeah.
I want to live in a state that is the job entry-level jobs available for him. The number of those is growing. And in these places that have been doing this longer on this California style minimum wage, it's going the other direction for those young people. So more young people are out of work, and that process of becoming a working and productive person is stunted.
Okay.
And we see what happens when those kinds of things are going on.
So let me ask you this. Where does this stuff come from? In other words, who?
I love that question.
I'm glad.
That's always talking about any of these ballot questions. That's always my favorite question that people ask.
Because who, we can understand California, okay, but we're in Oklahoma. Yeah. So is there a difference? Is it the same people from California, New York City, Chicago? Or is it these same people that are going from state to state or trying to permeate the country with the same policies? Or do we have local people that just say, they've got to let us do it? Where does that come from?
So on State Question 836, the California election system deal, that originates with a group out of New York City called Open Primaries. And they do go around the country pushing different types of open primary or ranked choice voting or jungle primary proposals. Last election cycle, most of what they were pushing was some type of jungle primary combined with ranked choice voting, which is what they have in Alaska, except 4 people go to the ballot in November instead of just 2. So, the voter would have double the choice as to what State Question 836 would bring to Oklahoma when they go to vote in November, which again is when twice as many people vote. And that's
but
when
it's
you want
still with ranked choice. It comes down to the last 2, and whoever.
It's still a mess. Yeah.
After 3 rounds.
And still nonpartisan. Even the last 4.
So in Alaska, I think they all have party labels. Okay. I think Nebraska is the only state, that doesn't have party labels on these things. Yeah. To my knowledge, I could be forgetting somebody. But this group out of New York City called Open Primaries, that's where State Question 836 originated from, literally from New York City.
So how does it get into a ballot initiative or a petition initiative here in Oklahoma?
They come in and they find folks who are dissatisfied with certain aspects of how things are in Oklahoma and say, here, we've got something for you that would really shake it up if we could get it on the ballot. And on State Question 832, when the California minimum wage, when you look at their ethics reports, like who's been contributing to fund that effort, it's by a huge portion of that funding is coming from out-of-state labor unions, and not necessarily because they want something in particular in Oklahoma, but because every time a state raises its minimum wage, then a labor union in Michigan or Wisconsin can factor that into their next contract negotiation.
That's
for their
important.
Prevailing wage in their state. So
Any
it's really not even about
yes.
Oklahoma, this effort right now.
Any collective bargaining agreement.
Yep.
They put that in there. It's not, truck drivers will get $32 an hour. It's more like truck drivers will get $24 more than the minimum wage or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why when you look at their ethics report, they're getting ethics report for the Yes on 832 effort. They're getting big money from out-of-state AFL-CIO interest. I mean, literally. I wish I was making that up, but I'm not.
Right. No,
right. Yep. It's definitely
important. It's important for our people to know, to understand, because we hear about these issues and people don't usually take the time and stop and let them know where these are coming from. How can anyone that sees this, hears this, help you, OCPA in general, get the word out and educate people on this? Do you have literature that people can get in bulk to distribute locally?
Absolutely. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Our website is OCPAthink, THINK.org.
I'm there.
We have a lot of stuff there. State question 832, SQ832killsjobs.com is the website, SQ832killsjobs.com. My email is dave@ocpathink.org, dave@ocpathink.org. Folks could reach out. We would love to deliver literature to them on any of these two or both ballot questions. Or if folks have a group that they're a part of that they'd like us to come speak to, we're going and speaking to groups all over the state. I mean, we've been to every corner talking about these two ballot questions, and we don't care about the size of the audience. Driving 3 hours to speak to a group of 5 people is fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
I want to say in ocpathink.org, one of the tabs that is a go-to for me is articles. I consider it one of the best conservative news sources.
Ray Carter, our independent journalist, is, I think, a host of people consider him the finest journalist in Oklahoma,
is.
and I think that would be a fair assessment. And he's a machine. He's cranking out stuff on all aspects of state government, and sometimes in deeper down into other layers of government too, on a daily basis. We're not quite sure how he cranks it all out. He usually closes his door, and we can hear that the alchemy occurring from outside, but he is incredible.
Ray's very good. And he's been there for a while now.
We've been blessed to have him for a while. He was with the Oklahoman for a number of years with their editorial page team. Mm-hmm. And it seems like a long time ago.
Yeah. What I want to say, and Trent England, who he's still involved with you guys, but kind of in a different arrangement. I remember when he was on the radio, the Patriot.
Oh, yes.
And
the Trent England show.
Some of the greatest quotes.
It's fun when he gets accosted by someone not even from Oklahoma, who wants, "Are you Trent England from the Trent England show?"
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, he had some intellectual. I mean, at 6 a.m, the guy's sharp as a whistle. But some of the things you guys did, for instance, a few years ago, I called up Brendan Dutcher.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's original employee.
The Godfather.
Yep. Yes. And he's your education guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I said, hey, I hear there's this bill called the Parental Choice Tax Credit.
It's a pretty good bill.
Yeah. So he ended up, he says, come on by. I stopped in, saw him. And then he says, okay, Dave Bond's over at the Capitol Hill. Get with him. And I think you were teaming up with some people from the Americans for Prosperity, Oklahoma.
Oh, John Tidwell.
John Tidwell's team was there.
Yep.
And, I met with you there in a conference room. You kind of got me up to speed, and I let you know who I'm going to talk to and stuff like that. I want to talk about this part.
Okay.
How can a passionate citizen, either by an occasional trip to the Capitol or writing and phone calling, how can you guys used to come to town and do conferences? Okay. I think you teamed up with the Tulsa 912 Project.
Yeah.
And some of the conferences. I've been to several of them. Tell us about that process of educating / recruiting a grassroots team.
Okay. So a very simple thing that people can do to get started down that path is Go to our website, ocpathink.org. And I think that the tab is the Take Action tab.
Got it.
I believe.
Yep.
We'll have several things on there where you can quickly fill in your stuff and our system then directly sends that to your state representative and state senator at the, Oklahoma Capitol. And we also often will print those off after they've been done and deliver physical copies as well. Sometimes spam filters are a real drag. And so we've been doing that more and more over time. And then also folks I think it's really important that people look at their state capitol or city hall or whatever that seat of government is, not as a place where the honorable so-and-so collaborates with another honorable so-and-so and does things for the betterment of our state.
It's a funny honorable so-and-so.
Yeah. I was raised to view the state capitol as an office building where people go and decide decide how much to raise our taxes and tell us what to do. Yeah. And I think it's really important for Oklahomans, taxpayers, to look at a seat of government in that way. You pay for them, you help contribute to their salary. Yeah. And I do think, we, through our action alert system, we try to make sure that we don't really do the stuff where click here and you'll email every single member of the legislature. Right. We want to connect an Oklahoman with their representative and their senator. So when that message goes through, it's got their contact info on it. Yep. It's got where they live. That legislator's assistant can see, okay, this is our constituent. They cared enough to do that. And we're very open and honest about that. We want to help facilitate that back and forth between a voter, a taxpayer, a constituent, and their elected representatives at the state capitol. And, then that dynamic begins to happen. And each one, it goes a little bit differently because it's truly them and their legislator, not us. We just want to facilitate that conversation happening. If folks want to go to the Capitol, they want to take that next step, we will often go with them or provide them. So we would typically just go with them so that they know where to go. It's kind of a confusing place. You never know which compass direction you're facing when you're inside the building or any of that stuff. And
which floor am I on?
Right. We want people. I grew up going to the Capitol from a pretty early age. It didn't have a dome back then.
Oh, yes.
So it was not quite as grandiose as it is today. So that probably helped in not seeing it as more grandiose than it really was. It's still the same place. It's still a place where people go and decide whether to raise our taxes and whether or not they're going to tell us what to do. I grew up originally going to the Capitol because we were a homeschool family. And at that time, the Democrat supermajorities at the Oklahoma Capitol were trying to figure out how they could basically outlaw homeschooling. Yeah. Most of the bills typically looked like some form or another of declaring us all truant. So that therefore we would have to go to public school and we couldn't be homeschooled anymore. Yeah. Jonathan Small, our president at OCPA, he started going to the Capitol for the same reason. And that's how our families knew each other. That's how we knew each other originally as kids. And so, that was our introduction to the seat of government. They are literally trying to prevent our family from doing what our family is doing. And so that does shape, I think, how we view all of this stuff. But I think in a pretty grounded way. And we've tried to take our kids to the Capitol. I want my boys to be very comfortable going into that building and to not be intimidated by it, to not be awed by it. I think that is very, very important that our young people not go into that building in awe, but just see it for what it is. It's a place where people are doing things.
If you've got a high school student, homeschooled, public school, private, whatever, as a junior or senior, contact your state rep or senator and get them plugged into the PAGE program.
Yeah.
My daughter said it was the best week of her entire high school.
I remember when I did it.
It just was so educational.
I pay. I think we talked about this on the phone the other day. When I did it, I paged for Don Rubottom, the former senator from here in Tulsa.
He lived a block away from me. In fact, my first time to the Capitol, my kids were like, we pushed them in strollers. Yeah. And Don was a homeschooled dad of 8.
That was back when Republicans had one row of desks on the Senate floor.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting at the end of the row and there's a lot more of the other folks here.
The education part of OCPA. Yep. And along with the, raising an army for whatever the take action thing is, what are the opportunities? Of course, there's a letter writing, and you said, make your emails authentic. Don't try to be polished, or they might think it's spam.
We have a template that people can roll with if they want to, but it's also editable. Yeah. And we love it when people add themselves to that. The more of that, the more authentic it gets. Occasionally we try to follow up and facilitate a phone conversation too, if we can, or sometimes that just happens naturally. Most of the folks at the state capitol are, regardless of party or anything, are pretty responsive to their constituents. Yeah. And so it's just a matter of facilitating that interaction. The other thing we do that I think a lot of Oklahomans around the state have really found appealing is we have our Fears Fellowship program. And that's our essentially leadership program for Oklahomans ages 18 to 35, students and young professionals, to familiarize them with the principles of America's founding and how those apply to government and economics and all these other things, and get them plugged into, okay, then how does that translate at the federal level, federal government? And also, how does it translate at state government and other layers of government here in Oklahoma? And we have seen a ton of those. The people we've had, I think, over 400, close to 450 now, Oklahomans in that age range go through that program over the past 5 years. And a ton of them are getting more and more plugged in from a vantage point of how was America founded? Why was America founded? What are the principles that we hold dear here still? And how do they relate to my state? Because a lot of times folks just see what's on Fox News or what's on the Daily Wire, and there's a whole state situation going on too. Yeah. And it tries to plug that mentality in there.
Last thing on my list, you are funded by charitable gifts.
Yes, sir, we are.
You've got an event coming up, the 2026 Citizenship Award Dinner. It's kind of a banquet. Yeah. Now, I've got a good friend that I kind of drug into politics like 30 some years ago, Daryl Woodard, who's on your board.
Yes, sir. Love Daryl.
And see, Daryl, we're different. I will organize a team. I'm kind of a grassroots guy. Okay. Daryl will cut a check. Okay. And you need folks. We who are in grassroots, shoe leather activism, we need the people who can cut a check. Okay. And don't despise that much. And nor should they despise people who can get out and canvass neighborhoods and make phone calls. And we got to be a team. And so if your part of the team includes, hey, maybe going to a gala, supporting that way, cutting a check, monthly support, there's a place for you too. And it's very important. You want to say anything on that?
The folks who support us, they want to see our state go in a direction of free markets, limited government, individual initiative, personal responsibility, strong families. They want work penalized less. You have an income tax, you're directly disincentivizing work and productivity. If you have an income tax, you're encouraging government dependency. And that dynamic of individual initiative, being able to do that for yourself and not be dependent on government. That's a big part of school choice too. It's a big part of allowing a child to be to allow a parent or a grandparent to get their child in a school where they're more confident that they're going to learn to read and do math. Those are really important things. And also maybe in a school that reinforces their worldview instead of tries to take the child in the opposite direction so they can cut class to be part of an ICE protest. All of those different things. School, sometimes that's what school choice is about to a family. And so all of those different aspects are what we work on a regular basis. We got involved in the judicial stuff and wanted to make Oklahomans aware of what was going on there because we had they were trying to act like a super legislature. And if I don't like that law, so we're going to come up with a reason why it shouldn't stand. Well, eventually that just gets out of hand. And those types of things are what we work on.
So are there any other particular issues or items coming up legislatively or otherwise that you feel people need to know about?
Thank you. So our number one priority at the Oklahoma Capitol this legislative session, which started a week or so ago, is actually third grade reading, elementary school reading. We've done a lot. We've worked a lot on school choice. There's now 3 or 4 different programs that parents can access here in Oklahoma to get their child in a better spot. But still, the vast majority of kids in Oklahoma are still going to public school. And some of those are in districts where they're not learning to read.
Yeah.
And that has to start really early. And third grade is when a lot of experts kind of agree by the end of third grade, if you're not up to grade level in reading by then, there's going to be almost certainly some problems that come from that. And so looking at those, so we had some things in place roughly a decade and a half ago when I will just say right after Republicans, after the 2010 elections, had control of all those different pieces for the first time in state history. One of the things they did was put in basically the Florida style elementary school reading structure. So we're going to do a lot more intervention early, starting with kindergarten, especially in school districts where they have a track record of not being able to read by the time they get to middle school. And we're going to really go in heavy, and we're going to emphasize that stuff so that we can be more confident that by the end of third grade, they are reading at grade level. Mississippi, another state that, at least when I was growing up, we were often compared to as one of the 3 or 4 bottom of the barrel states, in every regard.
The Gulf states,
the Gulf states and Oklahoma. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty, it was what I grew up hearing mostly was Alabama, Mississippi, West Virginia, and Oklahoma, and Louisiana and Oklahoma. That's,
Arkansas sometimes.
Sometimes Arkansas. Yeah. We tried to be inclusive. But Mississippi put that in place about that same time. And so did we.
Yes. They're the miracle state right now.
What's the difference?
And so within 4 years, the teacher unions and others within the school administrator class put enough pressure on lawmakers at the Oklahoma Capitol to roll it back. The basic, two things in particular, phonics instruction for elementary school reading. And also, if you can't read at grade level by the end of the third grade, we're going to do everything we can to prepare you. But if for some reason you can't, you're going to have to do third grade again. And those two concepts were rolled back. We really hadn't even done the phonics piece, but the third grade piece, we got rolled back. In Mississippi, they stuck with it. And so we were both starting to creep up towards beating the national average in third grade reading.
Yeah.
And we went the other direction. They stuck with it. And over the last decade or so, they have climbed out of it. And now when you adjust for poverty, Mississippi has the highest third grade reading scores in America.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal. They have a lot of demographic challenges. Oklahoma does too. They don't always look exactly the same, but they anyway have really made a ton of progress in climbing out of that. And so now there is tremendous enthusiasm and momentum at the Oklahoma Capitol this session for putting those things back in. A couple of years ago, they did lock in Oklahoma the phonics instruction for reading, for elementary school reading, which has to be a part of it. That's been a huge part of the Mississippi success as well. But now adding in that third grade retention piece, not as a punishment. I think some people hear it and think, well, we're just going to start punishing kids. No, it has to be a package deal of early intervention starting in kindergarten to make sure that kids don't find themselves at that point.
Gotcha.
And that's our number one priority. And Speaker Kyle Hilbert has a bill to do that. Senator Michael Bergstrom from Northeast Oklahoma has a bill to do that. Representative Rob Hall from here, a newer one from here in Tulsa, has a bill to do that. Also, Senator Adam Pugh from Edmond, Education Committee Chair in the Senate. So there's several different things in the mix right now, all of which bring those pieces together, and you've got something pretty special and a ton of energy to do it. The school choice stuff, we got to maintain that. We need to grow it, but families have gotten in a groove now of accessing that. But now for those families who are still where they've always been, for those children who are still where they've always been, this has to happen.
The only thing I want to say on the parental choice tax credit and I was expecting a lot more new private schools to open up. It's not happening like I wanted it to.
I will. There's a lot of that action is taking place in rural areas.
Right. Here's the point I'm getting at.
School openings.
You know how we have provisional certification when they need to hire teachers to fill slots and they can't get certified teachers. They'll have this provisional thing. I think we need to have something similar to that when it comes to school accreditation. Because if a new school opens up, let's say a few retired teachers get together, maybe one of them was a principal, says, let's start a private school.
Yes.
Okay. And there might be one other private school in the county. That other private school, those kids are getting, $7,500 per kid in tax credits. And this new startup, until it gets accredited, gets almost nothing.
So if you know some folks like that, I would love to get in touch with them, and I have some people I can connect them with. There have been some new paths like that have been created since this got put in place.
Yeah. Senator Dave Rader, who I think is a good friend of your organization.
Love Coach Rader.
Yeah. He stopped by the house the other day, actually with the school board candidate. And I talked to him about this. I said, we've got to find a way to get that provisional accreditation that sunsets out if they don't meet it.
Sure.
But it allows for a lot more startups, because I think there are a lot of great retired teachers who are taught how to teach right that we should plug into this.
So that is being done. It wasn't done in legislation, but it's being done in other ways.
Yeah.
And so I can connect them with the people who can help them.
Well, then there's hope.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for coming in and spending half of your Saturday with us, maybe more. I don't know how long it took you to drive here, but anyway.
I don't need that much sleep.
You're sounding better. Last week you were.
Thank you for allowing me to delay a week. Yeah, last Friday and Saturday I was not. Did not sound quite as suave and sophisticated as I did today.
We've both been through the crud. Yes.
Yeah. But again, really, we do appreciate it, and I know our audience will appreciate it. And
thank you.
We look forward to hearing more and seeing some successes come down the pike here in the next 6 months or so.
Let's do it.
Let's go to break.
Still by the side, I see people hang their heads, hearts dangle by a thread, and I stop to pray for lonely lives slipping away. So many faces, so many lives, looking for reasons and trying to survive. My tears, they melt in the rain. I've always shown my feelings. Now all I'm feeling is pain. 'Cause it's hard to understand all the love at my command. There's so much to say, but time keeps slipping away. So many faces, so many lives, so many lives, trying to survive, so many wonders, how will it end? The answer's waiting, just let him in. Here in my heart, there's a hope that endures the darkest hour. And in their eyes, I see so many faces,
Well, we got a little longer to listen to that entire song, "So Many Faces" by Idle Cure. Yeah, that was interesting. A great segment there. And listen, if you do get a chance, do go online and check out OCPA and give to that organization if you can. They really do good work behind the scenes in affecting a lot of policy, public policy. And a lot of people have kind of disparaged that, but it's something that is really important. You've got to have people that work with the legislators and so forth, and a lot of times, because I guarantee you the other side is doing it. As we were talking about some of these ballot initiatives coming up here in the November election, even sooner to an extent in June, primaries in June and so forth. But these minimum wage issues and other issues, we really need to do something about that and get it taken care of. Okay, so Dave is back, and so we will continue to move along and plug along and so forth. And with the other issues, or as Rush Limbaugh used to say, the issues of the day.
I got a little treat for you.
Oh, do you? I thought you were starving and wanted to eat.
We do the Joe Rogan style of kitchen table discussion. This harkens to the early days of Joe Rogan when he'd have brownies. Mm-hmm. You got to ask what's in the brownies. I'm muted, by the way.
Oh, you are.
So I brought brownies. Help yourself to them.
Well,
they're good.
The problem is I have quit eating chocolate.
Oh, that's right. Oh, man.
I suffer from migraines.
And
I know my triggers, even though, and one of the problems is that chocolate is my kryptonite. And no, you go ahead and eat yours. It doesn't affect me. I've gotten to the point I can say no, have yours. But no, I get these blinding migraine headaches, and I have just detoxed coffee, chocolate, anything with caffeine in it, and I get these headaches, and they come in the night, during the night, and they've got great medicine pills that can take care of migraines these days, which is what I was doing, but I was popping these things so much that I've got to get off of that. And so, yeah, I've been probably 4 days migraine free.
Wow.
And it's stuff. And he's just stuffing his chocolate and brown in his mouth, and they look so good. But anyway, this is I kind of consider this like a fast. I'm sitting here while you're just devouring this delicious looking. I know. I want you to. But I have had that experience before showing up a place where people, where I'm fasting and they're not. The worst was in Holland, in Amsterdam, a birthday party I went to. And the Dutch, they don't do birthday parties small here, food-wise. I mean, they had probably a 15-foot long table full of food and then cakes and stuff all over it. And I'm sitting there. But I will tell you what, suffering through that may be one of the most successful fasts I've ever had, because the things that came after that. So I'm letting a little bit out of myself. I believe in fasting. I believe totally. Here's the thing. When I was in college taking business law, and the professor told us about this book by a guy named Napoleon Hill called The Master Key to Riches.
I've heard of Napoleon Hill, yeah.
Right. What Napoleon Hill did, he was an economist, and he went around and interviewed the richest people in America. Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, these type of people, the titans.
From 100 years ago.
Right. DuPont, some of these, whoever they were, I'm trying to think, there were others. Anyway, and he researched them to try to figure out what was the key. And he came up, basically there's a universal law of giving. And it's so funny because as Christians, Jesus told us what this universal law a long time ago, very simply, give and you shall receive.
Yeah.
Multiply
you
the
can't outgive God.
No. And so, and every time I've done this, it's like the law of gravity, right? It works. Okay. So you don't have to be any more. I always liken it to the law of gravity. Okay. Unless there's a miracle intervening, you step off a 10-story building, you're going to fall and crash and die on the bottom, right? That's just the universal law of gravity. There are many of those. The second law of thermodynamics and so forth, and thrust and all of that. So giving and receiving is one of those universal laws. That's why, if you'll ever notice, the really wealthy and rich people, they give. They give. Now, they don't always get. Here's what's crazy about it. It doesn't necessarily have to be giving to the right person or the right place. That's what's really interesting, right? It helps. As believers, we should always give to the poor. Give to the poor. He who gives to the poor does what? Lends
to God, and God will repay.
And so that's one of the universal laws. And the other one that I really have come to appreciate, and I can't, it just ran right out of my mind right now. It's going to come back. I'm waiting for it to circle the globe, come back and hit me. So the law of giving and receiving, and then there's another one. Oh man, it just kills me right now. No, it's the main one I wanted to discuss.
Well, I remember the one about compound interest. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that is a whole. That's probably in the area of giving more than anything, because where do you get the interest from? Because you're loaning, right? You're loaning company. But that's a subset law. But anyway, well, I guess we'll just stay here for now and let you meditate on that one. But seriously, there are certain universal laws that in giving and receiving is one of those.
And you reap what you sow.
Yeah, and you reap what you sow.
You know, you want friends, show yourself friendly. You know, whatever you want, give in that area.
Right. And man, it just kills me now that I can't. I've just totally lost the train of thought on the other one. But anyway, yeah, just a little something in to throw in. But listen, I was really thankful for David's.
Was this your first time meeting Dave Blunt?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But it's really the things we talked about, the different policy issues and the different initiatives that are coming up on ballots here in the next several months. Are very, 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 I mean, listen, this is not trivial, small stuff. It's very important. So, for example, the two main ones that we spoke about, you know, nonpartisan elections and
minimum wage.
Those are so key because it just kills me that people don't understand. They're so easily herded almost, you know, into, we got to go this way. But if you just stop and think about it, Dave, as we were discussing, if you're raising the income of or minimum wage of people down here, then it's not the top guys. The top guys, the owners who you call
who signed the front of the checks?
The greedy SOBs, right, that signed the checks or whatever.
The front of the check.
Yeah, the front of the check. Yeah. They're not going to lose their money, okay? They will figure out. And if that means firing whatever number they need to do to keep that profit margin, okay? That, and how people don't understand that. You know, it really boils down to selfishness. Because all the people think about is me.
Sure.
They don't think about us. And, you know, it's them and me, but it's not them and us. It's them and me. They try to couch it in us, but bottom line, it always ends up to me. And so that is just such an important thing to consider, that you're never going to outtax the rich. You just can't do it. What you end up doing, I hope you don't mind me taking a little sidebar here.
I'm intrigued by what you're saying.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. Yeah. Okay. It's the same with taxation. And because, people keep wanting to raise taxes on the millionaires, billionaires, but it's a lie. It's a lie. What you're actually doing is not hurting the guys at the top, and I'll explain why in a second, but you're trying, people down here are so angry, torches and pitchforks going against the people that have, right?
Yeah.
But you're not going to hurt them. All you're doing is setting barriers for you and everybody down here to ever get there.
Yeah.
Because, and one of my pet peeves, this is a real peeve I have, is Social Security, okay? And self-employment tax. Okay. You only pay Social Security or self-employment tax on the first 100, and I think it's 35,
something like that,
1,000 now. I remember when it was just probably
90,000.
Yeah, it was 90, probably within the last 10 years, and it just keeps going up and up and up. But so if a person makes, say, I'm going to keep it even, $100,000 a year. They're taking $13,000 from that person. Okay. If you make $200,000, they're still taking that same 13. If you make so rather than take 13% of the 100%, $100,000, the guy that makes $1 million a year is 1.3%.
Yeah. It works more like a fee than a tax.
Right.
Because a fee is a set amount you owe the government.
Exactly. And so, and the more you make, instead of the increasing fee, it stays the same. So what's 13% of your income here is only 1.3% of this guy's, and the more 100 million is 0.0013,
Last summer, you and I went in a deep dive in this. And what we came up with is FDR, who had started this thing back in the Depression. Now, back then, there really wasn't much of a federal income tax.
Right.
It was still pretty new, and it was still pretty much the rich. But it was a forced pension program called Social Security. What it in reality did is it prevented the common man from having his own pension plan.
Right.
The rich still had enough money that they could invest in their own pension plans, and they're going to do well. The rest of us are locked into the returns that Social Security gives us on the dollar, which are pathetic.
Well, sure they are. But again, like I said, yeah, they in the reasoning, when I've talked to certain people about this, to me, inequality is that they also say that those people making $1 million, $100 million, they don't need Social Security. But that's not the issue. The issue is supposed to be that if you're going to pay into the system for society, then if you're going to do a percentage, do the percentage across the board. In income tax, or not income tax, but Social Security then won't go bankrupt as it's about to do.
But they use as a logic that this was your pension program.
Well, right.
This wasn't a tax.
Right.
This is an investment in your retirement. And we're just going to enforce everybody's got to do up to this much. Beyond that, do what you want.
Right. But see, even there, that's a lie, because if it goes to your survivors, children under 18.
Yeah, there's an insurance aspect.
That's the thing. So if I died and my kids were under 18, they would get to, my wife and the kids would each get that. But if the kids are over 20, well, I guess it's 21 now, yeah. So if they're over 21, if they're in college or
if they're still in school, it goes beyond 18.
Right. So, but if they're all older than that and I pass away, they get nothing.
Right.
Okay. And so right now, you and I, our wives get half of ours.
Spousal benefit. While we're alive.
Right. While we're alive. Exactly. While we're alive. And then when we pass away or she passes away, we still only get the higher income earner, the one that's receiving the highest Social Security benefit. That's all you get. So if I pass away, my wife loses her Social Security.
Yeah, you lose a third.
You lose a third.
Because take my wife, for instance.
Well, actually, a third of the combined, but you lose the half. Right. Okay.
My wife, stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she would have gone to work, unfortunately, she had a health condition and disabled. So she has no Social Security.
Right. But
she will get the spousal benefit.
My wife did work.
Yes.
She's worked many years.
Right.
And so she still doesn't get.
She has a choice. If she earns enough to exceed the spousal 50% additional, then she could collect that. But if she didn't make half in benefits, or you did, she gets half. As long as she's married to you.
And as long as I'm alive.
Hey, that's pretty good divorce insurance. They keep her from divorcing you.
I don't think that way.
Yeah, I know it.
Which reminds me, it being Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Yes. My dear spouse, who's not watching, she can't bear to watch me because she would be trying to correct me. You did this, you did that, you shouldn't have done this. But I love you anyway on Valentine's Day. Anyway, oh man, I keep losing my train of thought. I was going to say something about that. Oh yeah. So she made her own money, whereas theoretically I should get mine, she should get hers. Now it may not be as much as the half now, but if I pass away and she gets both, then that would be more than losing hers totally. Which anyway, I just think the system is not fair. As well as the fact that they set this ceiling at $130-some thousand, no matter how much money you make and so forth. Also, you don't pay Social Security or taxes on investment income. Now, it's not that I'm against that. I'm for it. I like it because, I'm an investor and so forth. But the problem is that it's not fair. It just the way let's say not the thought is not fair. I think it is fair. Okay. However, what's not fair is it's unequally meted out to people. That's why a guy can make millions and millions of dollars of what they call passive income, which is untaxed income.
Yeah, it's capital gains, right?
Well, no, capital gains are taxed. Yeah, capital gains, you do pay tax on. In fact, that was one of the big arguments back with George W. Bush.
Right, but capital gains tax is much lower.
Yeah, the tax on it's lower. But what I'm talking about is these tax sheltered income. Okay, if you invest in certain entities, municipal bonds, municipal bonds, education bonds, these bonds, that, you don't pay. So what happens? People get to a certain point, make a certain amount of money, and then that money will never get taxed. It just keeps growing and growing and growing.
When Ross Perot ran for president in '92, he released his taxes. Ends up his effective tax was 7%. For a multi-billionaire.
Oh, yeah.
7%.
Right. Because
much of his money was tied in mutual bonds.
Right.
Which are tax-free income. But I still want to say, if I, by the sweat of my brow and the muscles on my back, I'm working a day's work, I pay income tax, which at the high end is what, 30%, something like that? Depending on how wealthy.
No, I think it's 35.
Okay. But if I let my money go to work for me, my money only gets taxed at 10 or 15% capital gains.
Right.
So when your money makes money, it gets taxed less.
But my money should not be taxed, period.
Yeah, it's kind of double taxes. You already paid a tax on that.
Exactly.
There's a lot of scams like that just you don't own a house, you rent it every month or every year from the county.
Right. And one of the things that's really underappreciated and undercredited to Trump, President Trump, is the whole idea of him removing tax on Social Security. See, up until now again, we were paying tax on Social Security every year.
On last year's tax, I think you still will.
Right.
On last year's income, Social Security income, right?
No, not the.
Okay.
We did on 2024.
Okay.
2024.
Okay.
Now the money for 2025 because he was the president.
So it's retroactive to last January 1st.
Right.
Last year. Okay.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah. So, that is a benefit because that is totally double taxation because you're paying taxes on the money before and now you're paying taxes on it again. Yeah. So it's crazy that what we've gotten into, and it reeks of socialism. We're just a moderate socialistic state when we start doing that. Tax.
You know, what's funny, after World War II, we changed a lot as a nation. We adopted a lot of the Nazi education program. Kindergarten didn't exist. It was kind of something the Nazis did in Germany as an early pre-education, and what do you know? We adopted the Nazi, policies, and then, in fighting communism during the Cold War, we adopted a lot of communist policies.
Right. And kindergarten, that's the reason it's named kindergarten, because kinder is the
German
word
for child.
Children's garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many things that we could look into and look back at and see how they've developed or digressed from their initial intent. They have nothing in common with the initial intent, right? And so all we can do is fight that and try to bring them back to their original intent. And Social Security is one of those that I think we would and could and should look at because it's just, one of the big failings of Social Security too is the fact that I think the return rate is like 1.something%. Okay, it's less than 2% of the return over your lifetime of working and what they actually pay out to you again.
Yeah.
And whereas if you took that same income and took that same amount that you're actually taking out, okay, and you took that and you invested it in two things. You just stick it into a mutual fund or an annuity. Yeah. Annuity is probably a better thing to do. But anyway, put it into an annuity that you can't touch until you're 69 or you retire. And then the other part, let's say you took, if you start, I did the math on this. If you took a 25-year-old person, let's say that's the starting age, okay? And you did that, you took half of your money and put it into the mutual fund or the annuity, and you take the other half and you put it into buying a $1 million life insurance policy, a 30-year policy.
Term policy.
Yeah. You can even get 40-year ones, but even a 40-year one, say, you would pay about $100 a month if you're a healthy 25-year-old person, okay? So you got 100 there, let's say, and then you take another 100 or 150 a month and put it into this annuity. By the time you're 65 or by the time your your term insurance policy is finished, right? By that time, you would have over $1 million saved up that you could use for your retirement, okay? And then pay yourself out from that and keep it invested, and with the return and everything, you never run out of money.
So the A.L. Williams philosophy or strategy was a sound strategy. Now, the product they tried to sell you and the company behind it was not so good, but the strategy is good.
Yeah. They're still at it. They're still in business.
I remember I was pitched that back in 1979, and I went to my State Farm agent and I said, hey, tell me what you think of this. He said, interesting. And then they came up with what they called universal life. Right. Which is kind of a hybrid.
Right. Yeah. I used to work for a company selling a deposit. They call it a deposit term. which was a better. See, the problem with universal life is they take out a fee every month.
Yeah.
And
sure.
As you get older, that fee starts eating into your income.
Yeah.
Whereas the other plan, it was just, it was a great company, and I loved selling it and made a lot of money doing it, and was helping the people that were in it. But what you would do, say you would take $100 a month. We were doing it to the military, so young GIs, okay? So you take $100 a month, $10 of it at a young age like that goes into, say, $200,000 term policy, okay?
Yeah.
Then you take the balance of that, the other 75, and back then, the interest rates were really high. Remember in the 80s,
the money market days
in the 80s,
CDs 8%.
They were we were talking 15%.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, so you were buying term and then invest the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. And actually the first time I ever heard of this, first instance where I ever heard of it, it was Pat Robertson on the 700 Club. Sure. And they had a person on there showing if you buy term and invest the difference over here, you can still do it. I mean, it's just not in a package.
Yeah.
They put it in a package and they took no fees out. 100% went here and 100 in that other bucket. And at the end, you would end up with a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, you can still do that today if you get a young person. In fact, the things blessed me of maybe hundreds of people that I had probably 5 people that actually did it and stuck with it.
Yeah.
And both of them have become very, very well off.
Sure.
And one I didn't know about it was a friend of my wife's and her husband, and he called, and when she passed away, and how are you guys doing? Whatever he says. Well, I'll tell you that he called it that thing you got us into years ago. It was a mutual fund and a term policy. Yeah. But he said she really took that on and kept it going to the point where became totally self-sufficient. Right. Just within themselves, just their investments were doing so much that it took care of them.
So the family, let's say the money earner back in the 30s, Depression era, who still had a job, right? And he was putting money away and he was investing what he could and stuff and still raising a family, taking care of things at home. When Social Security came in, for a certain percent of those people, they quit doing their investment because Social Security
Uncle Sam was
taking that portion.
It was that promise.
Okay. Now, what they did have going in their investment had a cash value, and it was subject to federal laws on securities and stuff. The IRS, Eddie, what's the cash value of your IRS Social Security account? It's zero because they rob you. All they have is an IOU, and they can't promise you anything because Congress wipes the kitty clean every year. And there's nothing.
I think of 2 things when you talk about that. One, first of all, is Al Gore and his lockbox.
Yes, lockbox.
Lockbox. We're going to put it in a lockbox where nobody can touch it, which would be a good thing, but Congress will never pass it.
Of course not.
And then the other one is Dumb and Dumber, the movie Dumb and Dumber, where they had this $1 million they were supposed to deliver to this girl. And so when people know what I'm laughing about, when they finally got to her, finally reached whoever they were supposed to give this suitcase full of money to, they open it up. It's nothing but these little pieces of paper. And said, "What?" He said, "Well, they're IOUs. We had to borrow it to get it." We had to borrow it, but we'll pay you back, right? Yeah. I mean, people didn't realize, I don't think, what he was really saying. It was a slam on what the government is doing with Social Security. It was this suitcase full of nothing but IOUs.
Yeah.
But he promised he would pay it back.
Yeah.
It's some crazy stuff going on out there. Hey, so listen, what happened this week in the big news? Is there any big news?
Wow. Well,
from your end?
A big thing that's going on for those of you wanting to watch Congress is the effort to protect our elections. It's called the SAVE Act.
The SAVE Act, right.
And it's passed the House.
The Democrats, of course, are fighting it tooth and nail. One
Democrat did vote for it. Hispanic Democrat congressman from down on the border. And now it's the big tug of war in the Senate. And here's what's coming to, because the rules of the Senate are, other than one bill each year or approving somebody for office, like Secretary of War or something like that, you have to have 60 votes for closure of debate. So that's their filibuster system, and we're really close. Well, Mitch McConnell, the old dinosaur, when he does wake up and is, loosened, he says, no, I'm going to, vote no on that, changing the filibuster rules. I think it's ridiculous, except when I thank God for the filibuster when the Democrats are in control. But it's do we change the rules of the Senate where, no, 50 votes plus one, that's a majority? Yeah.
See, here's the problem about the filibuster rule, that the Democrats have already said that they're going to break it when they take power again.
Yeah.
So what are we waiting for?
Right.
They've already told us they're going to overturn the filibuster rule.
I've got a novel idea. Commit to the Republican senators, because you got a few of them. Murkowski from Alaska. You got Mitch McConnell.
And what's her name from up in Maine?
Maine, yeah. Collins. Is say, we're going to have 2 votes, one scheduled this week. And if that vote passes to change it, there'll automatically be a vote in 2 weeks to restore it. And put it back.
That would be funny. That would be good. But don't you need but see, if we're voting and you need 60 votes, then you'd have to have 60, to remove it.
No, it's a simple majority vote on rules of the Senate.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because that's a rules of the Senate.
Oh, it's a rules, not a law, right?
Yeah. Each house of Congress has its own rules.
Then, yeah.
And here's the thing. Constitution will not supersede that, because the Constitution itself in our state legislature says each chamber of the legislature shall set its own rules to govern how it does its business.
Here's a way to prevent that from happening. You can change the rule. And then the way to prevent it from happening is don't ever let the Democrats get power again.
That would be helpful, yes.
That would be the way.
But the nature of things is, good times make lazy people. Lazy people create bad times.
Right. Hey, something I want to talk about, which it's bubbling up more and more and more and more and more, and it's taking all the attention away from the criminality going on in your home state, Minnesota, Minneapolis in particular, with trying to get to the bottom of this embezzlement from the government. But what's really taken away now is that the Lolita Island, the Epstein thing. I mean, on Facebook, on X, all you hear is Epstein, trying to tie Trump to it. And I think a part of it, too, is the fact that they've subpoenaed Bill and Hillary and some others. And I think what's going on, as usual, is diversionary. It's a total diversion from what's really going on. Because even this week, I noticed even the whole thing of the shooting death of the lady there in Minneapolis who was trying to run over the Border Patrol guy or the immigration official. It's kind of taken a back seat now to the whole Epstein thing. And they're trying their hardest to, by implication, some people have just bought the whole package, that Trump was on it. He's a rapist. He's then, they just are so worked up about this.
Zero basis.
Right. But the way they're doing it now, they're just keeping it front. What's the Goebbels, the
repeat
propaganda?
A lie often enough.
You say it loudly enough, long enough, and eventually people will believe you. And that is the Democrat strategy to a T right there. They know how to lie. They know how to keep on lying, and
they have a complicit legacy media.
Yeah, the media helps them.
I mean, you couldn't do it without them.
No, but see, that's what Goebbels was assuming, because that's what they did. They controlled the media back then. Same with, remember, it used to be Pravda. Remember Pravda? And then all of a sudden, the other one, what's the, I can't remember. There's another. It just shot through my head.
The Soviet
TASS.
Yes.
It was Pravda, and then all of a sudden Pravda disappeared and it became TASS. Well, those are the two big
media
propaganda outlets that Russia had. And it's the same that we have right now. The major legacy media, as they call them, even though paper-wise, as far as the newspaper, it's kind of dying. But on broadcast media, the three networks are still.
CBS is getting trashed by the others because they're leaving the reservation.
Well, you know why they're leaving the reservation, though.
Well, it's burning down. I mean, it's
it's Trump sued him. He's got enough money. He keeps getting money from him, and they realize we're not going to. You guys go ahead and do it and get sued. And NBC really should be getting sued. Wait a minute. Who has a view on it?
That's actually ABC? A syndicate. ABC it's one of their syndicated ones.
All right. Yeah. Well, then, that's who needs to get it, because it's ridiculous. That those ladies on The View just lie.
Which is Disney.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, you go to theme parks or you buy a Mickey Mouse license, T-shirt product for your kid. You are subsidizing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no doubt. Do you know their latest redo of Snow White?
She's black.
They lost $175 million on that.
Yeah. See, it's the stupidest thing on earth to take a character that has been around for, what is it now, 100 years? Is that a
Grimm's fairy tale thing?
No, I don't know. But it's been about 100 years, don't you think? Has it been Snow White 100 or more years?
Oh, at least a couple hundred years.
Okay, a couple of 100 years. It's always been a white European with dwarves and so forth, right? Then
it was a Grimm's.
Was it?
Yes.
Grimm's fairy tales.
The original story, Snow White, was written and collected by the German academics Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm.
The brothers Grimm. Okay.
Yep.
So anyway, but to take a character.
1812.
1812. Okay. Well, so now we're talking, what?
Over 200 years.
300 years, because we're in 21.
We're in 20.
Oh, we're in 20?
Yeah, we're starting the third century.
I just let the secret out. So I'm a time traveler.
Okay.
I'm here from the 20s. But 200-year-old fairy tale that is a European with these dwarves and all of a sudden now you've got to make it black. Oh, the other one that really gets me now is The Wiz. Not The Wiz. What is it? What is about the witch and the
Wicked,
which
now is Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, so now they've got a black character playing. It was one thing. I mean, see, it was easy to sell Michael Jackson as the Scarecrow. He did a great job too. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, it was kind of a Motown version of Wizard of Oz.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I could buy that. Okay, I could. But this whole new deal, and just trying to reshape the minds as if all of a sudden to make a black green witch and make Snow White black or something is going to magically transform the opinion on race in America. And here's the thing too, man, we're all over. I'm all over the place today. You came in on coffee and it seems like I had one of your brownies or something.
Yeah.
But the racial thing that is so, to me, being Black, okay, it's so far over pro-Black, okay, to the point that everything is Black, Black oriented, Black, let's help these people. I've always thought, man, what if I'm Hispanic? What if I'm Asian, right? If I'm Indian? Why not an Indian Cinderella or an Asian Snow White, make her snow yellow or whatever, but it's just, it baffles me that these other races put up with this stuff, that you don't hear them. And that's probably why nothing's being done by these networks, because you don't hear any outcry from those entities, from those ethnic groups. But there is a lot of animosity, I guess. If you ever go to the urban cities where there's a huge Hispanic, they're not too fond of Black people.
Right.
Okay, there's a little race thing, but how the networks don't see that. I see it coming. It's going to come to a head where you're going to have Latino community, Hispanic community in particular, is going to say enough. No mo negro, it just, and listen, I love the Black race as much as anybody, okay, having grown up in that culture and everything. It's wonderful. There's heroes. They're great, but I'm not going to try to take over somebody else's culture and someone else's history, someone else's art, and bring it over and make it mine. I need to create my own. There are enough good stories, and that someone could create brand new stories with actually using Black figures. You don't need to try to steal this stuff.
Yeah, the most prominent, bear with me here, let's take a second. The most prominent artistry company that makes nativity figures, Fontanini of Florence, Italy. One of the third generation descendants, Emanuele, came by the store. I was up for a signing, and he talked a little bit about why the family, still does it, the things. And here's the point I'm getting at. I said, those characters of the Bethlehem village, that's not how they dressed in that area. He says, no. He says, the first record we have of a nativity was St. Francis of Assisi while he was ministering to the people of Ireland. And he dressed these figurines in the garments of the Irish people in an attempt to help them identify with the story of the birth of Christ. Now, if that's your motivation, to help the people you're trying to reach to identify with it, I don't have a problem with that. But if you try to do what we call cultural appropriation, where you try to say, no, that's not your story, that's our story. Now you're not respecting the original historical thing. And so I'm just saying, fine, you can put on the Snow White play at Booker T. Washington, and you're likely to have a lot of Black actors, okay?
Right.
That's fine.
Right.
But don't try to say it actually happened in, Uganda. Because that's not where it happened,
By the way, to correct you a little bit on Booker T, there are probably as many or more white kids there because the magnet system, all the other kids come from elsewhere in town.
Unless you were in that Carver and Booker T
district geographical
region. Right. Yeah.
But again, the whole main purpose was to make it a magnet school. And so they bring in.
I stand corrected. If I'd said McLean, it would have worked.
Yeah, McLean would. Yeah. Or no, I'm sorry. It's no longer McLean. It's the something. scientific.
Right. Well, they changed it, and then they changed it back to McLean.
Oh, they did change it back.
McLean something.
Right, some kind of academy, success academy.
But they went back and said, yeah, we got to include the name McLean in this new.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, there are a few things going on. You were talking about the what's going on with Epstein. Yes, and I tell you what, Mike Benz was on Joe Rogan's show. And I think he was on Tucker Guinness. The real story of Epstein is more about being a CIA contractor.
Right.
Because after the Church Commission of 75, where the Congress started doing oversight and started passing laws that say, no, you can't assassinate foreign leaders, CIA. They had been doing that stuff. Now they just hire outside contractors to do it. They actually formed their own corporations and industries. The CIA became, I believe, and a lot of people have more credibility than me believe, the biggest distributor of illegal drugs in the United States. They had their own airline, Southern Air Transport. Then they finally sold it, and stuff. But here's the thing, the Iran-Contra whole scandal, that was exactly that thing. And guess who was one of the characters in it? Wasn't a major character.
Ollie North.
Ollie North was a major character. And I forget that Saudi arms dealer, I forget his name. But another person who helped facilitate that was a guy named Jeffrey Epstein. He was a money guy.
He must have been really young.
Oh, yes. He was 30 when he left Bear Stearns. This guy has been a money guy. And for instance, Mike Benz tells a story. They wanted to put a pipeline going through, I forget what nation it was. I think it was Iraq. And they needed assurance that the Israelis wouldn't blow up the pipeline. So it was up to Epstein to get the Israelis whatever they need to say, hey, we can't get investors if they think you're going to blow it up. It's just little deals like that. Sometimes they're not financial deals, but sometimes they are greased with finances. A little, you do me this favor, I'll do you that.
Or women.
And what happened? See, Mike Benz doesn't believe that this started as a blackmail thing. He says, quite honestly, he didn't think it ever was intentionally blackmail. Because the problem with blackmail, you do it once and the word gets out, you're shut down completely. Nobody will ever do business with you. What happened is, you know the story of how Walmart first went public, stock trades, right? In order to get investment from Wall Street, they had to get their attention. So they would have their stockholders meeting, and it was some of the best weeks you could ever plan. They would go whitewater rafting. They would go trout fishing. Sam Walton would plan this just great getaway for a week, and the investors would come down just for the whitewater rafting and for the mountain climbing and whatever else. But whatever gets them there. And young college girls will get some guys to the party. Ask the former Prince Andrew. He'll tell you that. And for some
Bill
people,
Clinton.
Yes. And Clinton already had a reputation. Prince Andrew had somewhat of a reputation. I mean, his marriage to, Sarah Ferguson fell apart because of womanizing. Actually, it was both sides were doing it. They were kind of open marriage swingers. So what you had going on was an animal that kind of grew and it was helping. And Epstein didn't really see a downside to it. And it just got so big, and then his own vices got, helped out in that, and it just kept going. And he started attracting more and more of that kind of thing. I mean, Bill Gates was another one. And we're finding out more and more about that. As far as Trump goes, I'm convinced this has no fallout for Trump himself.
Right.
But I think Trump knew people who would be exposed. Howard Lutnick, his commerce secretary, said, no, I never had any dealings with him. And then more came out. Oh, what do you know? Lutnick went to the island, and then he has to come out and say, well, here's what really happened. Well, Lutnick's reputation and integrity took a hit this week because of it. And I think there's other people. We found out some sultan from the Middle East, I think from, I don't know, was it Emirates or Dubai or something like that. But you got a bunch of people who Trump is, he's working with a lot of people. And this is disrupting to his agenda. I listened last night to Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was on Owen Schroyer's podcast. And she talked about it, because she's just like, Trump has gotten to where you're either 100% in or you're of the devil and he's getting rid of you. And she just feels like it wasn't this way in the first Trump administration. But he has got an agenda and he is so aggressive and going after that. He doesn't want anything in the way.
Well, yeah. And not only that, but in that first administration, he was stabbed in the back so many times.
Yes, he was.
That he's not putting up with that anymore,
Right. The problem, as she sees it, is she got stabbed in the back.
Well, yeah.
Because she's been more of a fierce defender of Trump than just about any of them.
Yeah, up until towards the end.
It was this issue.
Yeah, that was the main issue.
The Epstein thing. So I personally think it needs to come out. There are people who think that this is big enough it could take down our government. And it's certainly impacting other governments. In Europe, there's all kinds of resignations. There's a lot going on. Because again, Epstein's doing this on behalf of the CIA, mostly with his foreign contacts and American entrepreneurs, financiers, and people that want to get involved in shaping global policy. I think it is a big mess. I think it's very important that it comes out. I think it's emblematic of our grasp to get a hold of the deep state.
Yeah, see, it's funny, but I kind of have this, I don't want to say theory, but I have this idea that Trump may be playing this. In other words, make the left demand it so much.
I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, that he wants to get them so worked up that they demand it comes out, but then he said, oh, you want, okay, here it is, and it's going to implicate so many of their people. That's what I'm thinking.
I think it was 3 years ago, Marjorie Taylor Greene went through a divorce, and she's 52 now. She went to Congress when she's in her mid-40s. She's remarried, and I had no idea who she married. Brian Glenn, one of Trump's favorite White House correspondents. He's with Real America's Voice. Remember, Brian Glenn was the guy who went after Zelensky for his bad dress code at the White House.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Brian Glenn and Donald Trump get along great. The irony is that Trump went on the attack against Brian Glenn's new wife. That's an interesting thing. But I like your theory here. I think it's plausible to say Trump probably set it up so he could look like he was the one trying to prevent it. But yet it's happening. And he can look to, the Saudis or whoever else, his billionaire friends, say, hey, I did the best, but man, I couldn't push too hard or people think that I got something to hide. Right?
Right.
So it's plausible. You and I had a debate about this last fall, and you thought Marjorie Taylor Greene going off the reservation and pushing this was just helping the Democrats. I don't think it helped the Democrats.
No. Well, not as much as some others on that side would have liked.
Yeah, he's now suing the Epstein estate and this journalist friend of Epstein's, because once it got revealed, you could see they conspired to destroy Trump. Eddie, back when you and I had our famous debate over the ORU Stadium Trump appearance.
Famous debate.
Well, I told you, because you were like, why are you doing this? I said, look, Trump's new. He doesn't have a public service legacy that I can look to decide whether he's trustworthy or competent. He comes to my town, and I have to determine whether or not I can believe this guy. And he's lying about ORU. And that was my argument there. I was planting innuendo that I couldn't prove as well, Eddie. I was going after him. I said, how do you become that successful in New York City without having sweetheart deals with organized crime, the mob, and the unions and all that? Eddie, that guy's been through more anal exams, colonoscopies, whatever. He's come out squeakier clean than you and I would, Eddie.
Now, here's what's funny, though. Here's what's funny about it. I would believe his association with the Cosa Nostra, Mafia, whatever you want to call them, before I believe some of this other stuff. And now, when I say association, there's different levels of it. Because I think in New York, to survive, you have to work with certain entities in a partnership. Not that you're capitulating totally, I'm going to help you in your crime, but I know the guy to talk to if I want this done or this done or this done, right? So, I totally, in fact, remember, I think a lot of people used to call him the Don Don, And so I wouldn't put it past Trump. In fact, I would almost guarantee that to have been as successful in Manhattan and in New York City as he was, that he had to have had some affiliation or cooperation, if that's a better way to do it, with certain underworld figures. Especially, he's showing up at all these Madison Square Garden at the fights, the big fights and this and this. He was always in that circle. Yeah. So I wouldn't find that hard to believe. But nobody's ever accused. That's what's so weird to me. I mean, if you're going to accuse him of something, but I think there's a reason they don't want to accuse him, because those same entities that you're accusing him of hanging out with might come back and do you harm.
I think he not only worked with them, I think he demanded that they treat him honorably and let's do this above boards.
Right, exactly.
And he had a big enough microphone and national and global following that they knew that he could make things hard for him. Because remember, the Cosa Nostra, what did Teflon Don say? There is no Cosa Nostra. There is no, he wanted to pretend it didn't exist. Right. Kind of like the famous C.S. Lewis is, the devil either wants you to believe he doesn't exist or for you to have an unhealthy interest in him.
Right.
One or the other. Either it'll be fine with him. And then you hear stories, little anecdotal things about little kindnesses he did without ever asking.
All these different people around the city, yeah.
A woman that says, I was about to commit suicide and he saw me on the street.
It was actually a guy on the bridge.
Well, this was a woman. I heard that story last fall.
Then there's another
but you hear over and over. And just kindnesses. Eddie, it goes to your point earlier about the super wealthy in that they've learned the principle of giving, that it's important to their outcomes that they be a generous person. And it's not even necessarily a strategy, just be a giving person.
I just remembered what it was. The other thing that is, I don't want to call it positive confession, but just faith and belief.
Yeah.
So in that Master Key to Riches, going back to an hour or more ago, but basically what he said that all these people did. They would write down on a piece of paper what they wanted to happen, and they pin it on a mirror. You can do this on a mirror if you get up every day.
Yeah.
And you just, it's basically the name it, claim it thing in the Christian end.
Yeah.
Power of positive confession.
Yes.
And that was the other thing of the master key to riches, giving, and then that power of positive confession.
Yeah. Norman Vincent Peale's, and yeah, I mean, Lou Holtz had his bucket list. One of the things is I want to coach Notre Dame. He'd signed with Minnesota and literally had him writing a contract. I will be your coach for this many years, unless Notre Dame opens up. And the next year, Notre Dame opened up. He was 1 year with the Gophers,
Yeah, that's right.
in the Big Ten.
That's right.
But to have those goals and keep them in front of you.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Olympics.
Oh.
We've got controversy.
These are the weirdest Olympics that I've ever.
By the way, before I get
I haven't even watched. Have you been watching?
Some.
Okay.
Before we get too much into it, your son's hockey team, the Florida Panthers, got invited to the White House again.
Yeah.
And you didn't say anything about it. Did your son go?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I have a picture of him shaking hand. Trump is sitting in a chair, and Michael is. It's the funniest photo because it's almost like Trump is honoring him. It's just the way it looks. It's like he's the top dog, and this guy. The look on Trump's face is almost like, oh, I'm getting to me. It's a weird to say, but yeah. He had
you told me about his little one-on-one your son had with Trump the year before,
right? Mm-hmm.
Where your son comes like, hey, can I get one of those pins? And Trump, what did he say to him? He says, wow, you're the only one who asked.
Yeah, he said, I've been waiting for somebody, and you're the only one who asked.
Yeah. The equipment guy, the operations guy. And so Trump, who I think, like any successful person, you don't forget faces. And he had that interaction with your son. So this next year, he's looking up. He looks to a familiar face. Yeah, I don't know. Here you're the political guy, and he's the one who just does sports and gets twice to the White House in 2 years.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah,
that is neat. But anyway, U.S. hockey team is looking really good.
The women too.
The women. There's nobody. Yeah. The women's hockey team. I watched them last night against, I think it was Italy. Had 6 goals and in like 50 shots on goal. And the other team only had 4 shots on goal and no goals. It was that dominant. The women, and most of them are college hockey players. Mm-hmm. There is a women's hockey small league. They've got 1 or 2 Minnesota teams in women's hockey professional now.
Yeah, it's funny because yesterday, you're probably wondering what this mark may be on my arm. This bruise, it's tracks from.
Looks like a hickey.
From me shooting up. No, I was giving blood yesterday.
Oh yeah, they missed the vein, huh?
Oh yeah, had a young girl that didn't.
Yeah,
I never had that happen before. I didn't notice it until this morning. But anyway, so while you sit there, they have TV. Oh, yeah. They had that women's hockey game on, so I got to watch some of that. And that I really haven't been watching, but yeah, and as far as the men, one of the Florida Panthers guys, one of their best played is a defensive guy. A black guy, a black hockey player, if you can believe it, but he's one of the best in the league, all pro, I guess all pro. Anyway, but he's not even there, but this team is, it's a really, really good team.
It really is.
It's funny, these guys, they play together and they do great, but then when they get against each other, they'll start fighting and stuff. It's just funny to me how they do that. They just get ticked off and start, wanting to whack on each other, beat on each other. So, but I think a lot of it too is turned into Canada and America.
It is,
and even some of the coaches down here are Canadian, and they're just nasty people.
Huge upset though. Who is it? Well,
on the Olympics,
Finland got defeated. I forget what team it was that defeated them. If it was the Czechs or if it was Germany or somebody defeated Finland, and they were considered in the top three for sure.
Yeah, we've got two on the Panthers. They got two Finnish players.
Yeah. So Finland is now, I don't think they do the round robin like they did back in 1980, where you had pool A and B. The women do that. But I think they took 32 teams and started a bracket. And so now, I think Minnesota, the United States is in the quarters, I think now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Women, I think, are already in the semis.
Are they into the medal rounds now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought maybe they're done with pool, but
not as many teams. That's why they were able to.
That's true.
That
That's true. And there are 32 teams in the men's. Curling. Oh, man. I had no idea. Minnesota is becoming the hotbed for curling in the United States. There's people from the East Coast that moved to Minnesota. Duluth has a great facility there. And they beat Canada, which Canada was always dominant.
It reminds me of shuffleboard.
Yes.
Curling.
That's what I told my wife. I said, I remember when as a kid, you'd see shuffleboard and you don't see shuffleboard.
No, you don't see it anymore, but that's what it reminds me.
But it essentially is the same
basically,
concept.
you're knocking the other people's thing away and yours takes their place.
The dynamics, though, is people who are good at it, even after you slide it, they're steering it by melting ice.
Right. The guy with the brush.
Mm-hmm. No, they'll do two guys with brush when you got a four-man team.
All right.
Now, the first thing they did was the mixed doubles. It's just one man, one woman. And the man ended up doing all the sweeping. And the United States ended up taking silver. I think it was Sweden took the gold on that. But that same woman, Thies, Cody Thies, I think is her name, Corey Thies from Duluth. She goes to the University of Minnesota. She is part of the four women team that's doing really well. They just defeated the Canadian women. And so curling is really on the upswing. And it's interesting. There's a scandal in figure skating. Big time scandal.
Yeah, I know.
So I looked it up. What happened is in the team competition, the French judge, who is already had a legacy of scandal from previous global events.
So how is he still being a judge?
Woman.
Or how is she still being able to be a judge if she has these other stuff?
You can't prove this stuff.
Oh, okay.
So and several other competitors from other nations clearly said the U.S. team should have won the pairs.
Right.
And this French judge scored the French team, man or woman, I think it was ice dancing, scored the French team 3 points higher than the average of the other 8 judges. So there's 9 judges. And that same French judge, and they had slips and near falls and screw ups on things. Everybody acknowledged that. She still scored him 3 points higher than the composite, everybody else. But she also scored the Americans who did the flawless one.
Right.
5 points lower than the average of the others.
5 points.
5 points lower.
Oh, man.
The average. It was enough to allow the French team to win by less than a point. And this wasn't the first,
It reminds you of the infamous, I was going to say famous, but infamous basketball game.
Oh, Henry Iba's 72 team.
72.
Yeah, where the Soviets were given, 2 do-overs? It was a half court.
It was Russia. Yeah, Russia.
Well, it was Soviet Union then.
Well, yeah, Soviet Union.
It was a half court inbound with 2 seconds left. He throws it in. They make it. And
miss.
Miss. Did it over. Right. Didn't call a foul or anything. Just did it over.
Right.
And same thing, missed. And then a third time, and they make it. It's just, and we can't blame this on Russia because Russia's been banned for drugs.
On this one. Oh, yeah. No, I know. Yeah, I know. In fact, I don't even think the Russians would do that anymore. I mean, the way that it is now, I don't think the Russians would stoop to that type of thing. You know? But the French would. That says two things. What the French are like, in my opinion, of the French.
Well,
neither one is good. Neither one is good.
And I will say this, and it's not the whole U.S. team, but a certain factor of it is egging on by their own global criticism of U.S. policy. Yeah. They are not on our team as long as they're bad-mouthing the people who sent them.
What really gets me is the media as well, the press, because the first several days, in fact, just before it got, when they first arrived, I kept seeing every night where the media was trying to get these guys to
they're
speak negative,
of course,
and the contestants would say, I'm here to compete in the Olympics. I'm not here to talk politics. And they were doing it. And then all of a sudden, as soon as the Olympics start, you start getting these people on there. It's been mainly guys that I think that have been doing it, that have been coming out and speaking how they don't agree and this and that. And the one that really bothered me in the Olympics before is that girl that's an American Japanese Chinese American girl that is skating for China. I don't know if you know, but she skates for China, and she came out and starts talking negatively. I mean, I would strip her of her citizenship. You like China? Boom, go to China. You're now a Chinese citizen.
Yeah.
Because you can't. It's so funny how things have changed. How the word or even the thought of treason was such, and now, you can't accuse anybody of treason anymore.
J.D. Vance is over there actually for a number of things. He attended part of the Olympics. He's at the Munich NATO conference now, but I wish he'd just say something. You know what? You figure skaters, I'm not going to criticize your routines or your performance. I'm not an expert in your line, nor are you an expert.
Right. Yeah. I don't talk about how you suck on ice. Yeah. Or you should have done this, you should have done that, you shouldn't do this. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
It's like telling the Dixie Chicks, shut up and sing.
Yep.
We came here for a concert, not a lecture on socialism,
Hey, listen, I think we better wrap it up for another week.
And you see, got one more thing else.
Make sure you got everything.
Your Texas Tech basketball's doing great.
Well, yeah, but then they'll do great for like 3 games, and then they'll blow one because they lost to somebody they shouldn't have. Actually, I think they lost to Kansas this last week. Yeah, earlier in the week.
You know what, though? I mean, last rankings I looked up, 3 of the top 5 were Big 12.
Big 12 is doing great. And we talked about this before, that was the whole decision to take in these Pac-12 teams, Arizona in particular, and they're coming through. Are they still undefeated? Arizona?
Last I heard, I think number they played 1 today. Yeah.
Yeah, they were number 1 and have been number 1 for weeks.
Yeah, I think one other team got 1 vote in the coaches poll, but otherwise it's unanimous. Arizona's number 1 in both the AP and coaches poll. So that's going really good. OSU softball, I'm keeping an eye on them.
OSU
softball, they just took on UCLA, who was ranked number 7, and defeated them yesterday. So yeah, that's really
speaking of OSU, I predict you're going to see some real good football out of OSU come starting this fall.
It's been a tough.
It may take him a little while because he's got to build up, but the new coach is they made the right choice. You're going to see a different OSU team.
Yeah, I'm a Texas Tech. Oh gosh, tonight at Arizona.
Oh.
Texas Tech is right now ranked 16. I think all their losses are to the top 10
Big
teams.
12, yeah.
So Arizona is number 1. Texas Tech, has lost 6 games this year. Like Iowa State, I think, is number 3.
Yeah, they've been good for a while, a few years.
Yeah.
Iowa State.
Actually, they moved down to number 5. Kansas is number 9 right now.
Yes, they moved back up because they didn't start out too well.
Well, they have 6 losses too, just like your Techs. But Kansas is at Iowa State tonight, 6:30. That's going to be a game to watch. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's a final. This was, Iowa State did beat Kansas. Okay, so this was, man, I guess that already happened. That was last night's game. So, yeah, there's just lots of good things going on. It will be a good year to watch the big dance. So that's going on. I'm trying to think if anything's going on here locally. I will say this. There's a big push and some big scandal on Oklahoma's medical marijuana. And I've got a guy who's reached out to me, wants to come in. He was part of the effort. He's been in before. Yeah. And he wants to expose some things, some real corruption by state officials, that it has run out the mom and pops. By not enforcing the law, you've encouraged the corrupt cartels to come in and undermine them. And now you have a corrupt medical marijuana industry. And it's because the state is not doing their job, is his contention. So we'll see if we can schedule him in. I wanted to, you and I will talk about it after the show. So other than that, that's what I got. Happy Valentine's Day to all you Valentines. And I think it's going to be good.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Where'd you go out to eat? Oh, you haven't yet?
Not yet.
I took her out early. Andolini's Pizza.
Andolini's. Okay. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Have a great week. Lord willing, we'll talk to you next week. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm going to Philadelphia this week. Talk to you later.